Ben Pettingill. Our next speaker is a man that sees the world in a different way to most. Ben has a story that inspires and transforms his audience to start seeing a whole new view and to chase their wildest dreams. Passionate about empowering people to overcome their limits, he does this by sharing incredible experiences of loss, challenge, and embracing adversity. Ben is down to earth, light-hearted, relatable, and loves having fun with his audience. Please make him welcome.
Thank you, Dennis. Can everybody hear me out there all right? Yep. Beautiful. Okay. A healthier community. What a powerful theme. And it is completely correct to say that people do have the power. Now, I've had the pleasure of listening to the last couple of speakers, and I can definitely say that I've learned 1,000 new words that I had no idea what they meant. So we're going to keep things very, very simple for the last session. Now, I want to just introduce myself to begin with. And the way I do that is I feel that there's 3 very, very important things that you should know about me before we get started. Now, the first one of that is that I'm a Western Bulldog supporter. Yeah, there's 2 of us. There's 2 of us. And now, the second one, I'm blind. And the third is that I'm a world record holder. But let's start with number 2. When I was 16 years old, I was sitting up the back of my science class. I thought I was the cool kid. I thought up the back was where the cool kids sat. Looking back now, I was completely wrong. But I was sitting up the back with my best mate, Stuart. And Stuart and I were sitting up there, and the teacher was up the front, drawing this weird and wonderful diagram of the human body, using every colour of the rainbow. There was parts there that she was drawing that I had never, ever seen before or knew we had inside of us. But at a closer look, something didn't seem quite right. And I said to Stuart beside me, I said, Stuart, does that diagram on the board, does that look a little bit blurry to you? And he said, Ben, it's the human body. It's weird, but it's definitely not blurry. What do you mean blurry? And I couldn't put my finger on it. But my textbook was a little bit blurry. The most important things like my phone, texting the girls I liked, that was a little bit blurry. And now I could see it clearly, clear enough to make it all out, but it was just giving me a headache. Does everybody know that feeling you get when you look at a really, really bright light for a couple of seconds too long, and then when you look away, it takes a few seconds to readjust? Like if you look at the sun for a couple of seconds too long, then when you look away, it's a little bit hazy. Yeah? A few people know that feeling. That's exactly what it was like. So what I thought was when it got to recess, and I couldn't put my finger on exactly what was wrong, I just had a gut instinct, an intuition that something wasn't quite right. I knew I had to talk to someone. Who could give me the advice I needed? Dad. Dad's always great at advice. I'll give Dad a call. He'll know exactly what to do. So I gave Dad a call and I said, Dad, I was in class. The whiteboard was a little bit blurry. The diagram the teacher drew. What should I do? And typical Dad has just gone, well, mate, we'll just wait and see what happens. Gee, thanks, Dad. Thanks for nothing. But the problem was then Dad called Mum. And I love my mum to death, but she's a stress head. Without thinking, Dad's pulling up at school, picking me up. We're on our way into the Melbourne Eye Near Hospital, meeting Mum in emergency. And then 6 hours later, test after test after test. Eventually, we got ushered into a little room where the doctor was going to deliver the verdict. Mum, Dad and me. And this doctor comes in, and I don't know what it is with doctors. And I hope that not many of you are doctors here today. If you are, then that's great. But this doctor, he just had this really deep, intelligent voice that just communicated, I've done 30 years worth of study. I know everything. Now, Ben, we've discovered what's wrong. You've got an inflammation of your optic nerve. And now your optic nerve is the cable that runs from the back of your eye to the back of your brain, and it transfers the images that we see. Now, that's inflamed. It's bigger than it should be. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put you on a course of steroids. Now, I'm 16 years old, and this doctor's just told me I'm going on steroids. My eyes lit up. My mind started to tick. Muscles are going to get bigger, going to get back to school. The girls are going to love me. This is going to be the best thing ever. But now this doctor, he must have seen my eyes light up. Sorry, Ben, not those type of steroids. These type of steroids will make you put on heaps of weight, get heaps of pimples, you'll be tired all the time, but they will make you better within a month. Oh, those type of steroids. But if they'll make me better within a month, that's okay. I'll give it a go. So I got put in the hospital bed and I got wheeled up to the top level of the Eye Hospital in Melbourne. I had the steroid drip coming out of my arm. There was part of me that thought maybe, just maybe, it might help a little bit. And I remember those awful bluey-green hospital curtains around the rail giving me that blissful privacy that you get in a hospital ward. I had the little TV hanging on the rail at the end of my bed. I watched Fremantle play Geelong the night before. I was texting this girl I liked at the time. I finished that and I got tired. I put that on the bedside table. I closed my eyes and I went to sleep. And when I woke up in the morning at 16 years old, the first thing I thought of was, I better text that girl. Better text that girl I like. I'll do that first. Most important things first. So I looked straight to the bedside table beside me and it was gone. I then looked to the TV that was hanging on the rail at the end of my bed and it was gone. I then thought, what is still here that I know is still here? My hands. I can feel my hands, they're definitely still here. So then I put them in two fists. Everybody grab your hands, put them in two fists together and hold them 30 centimetres in front of your face. Now stare directly into the centre of your two fists. Keep staring. Now close your eyes. That's what I saw. Overnight, I had just lost 98% of my eyesight, just like that. And as the doctors became aware of this, they obviously grew more and more concerned. And they did a lot more tests. They did tests looking into the back of my eyes. They did blood tests, test after test after test, 2 weeks worth of continual testing. And eventually, Mum, Dad and myself, we got taken in to this little room with the doctor to deliver the verdict. And the doctor walks in. Now, Ben, we've discovered what's wrong. You don't have an inflammation of your optic nerve. But what you do have is a rare genetic syndrome called Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. Now, let's just say the technical term for that is blind. It's incurable. You will be blind for life. Straight away, I went numb. I didn't hear another word of that conversation. It went in one ear and out the other. Mum started crying beside me, but that wasn't too unusual. It's the only time I've ever seen my dad cry in my entire life. And my family and my friends were grieving around me for this sudden change in my situation. This massive change. But like I said, I was just numb. I was in shock. I was confused and I was full of adrenaline, running on adrenaline. And so many people have said to me throughout the journey, oh Ben, I couldn't imagine what it would be like to be you. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to be in your situation. Must be tough. And I hear this all the time, but I don't agree with it. And I don't agree with it because I believe that every single person on this earth has their own individual situation and set of circumstances that is unique to them. They are all different. I can't compare losing my eyesight to someone who's lost a loved one. And they can't compare it to mine. Neither is worse or better. They're just different. I believe you have a situation. I believe you have a situation. I believe you have a situation. I really hope I'm pointing to people out there. Now, mine was I lost 98% of my eyesight overnight. And that's a massive change to my situation that I had to adjust to. Now, we have 5 senses as human beings, and we receive all of the world's information through those 5 senses. Now, 83% of the information we receive from the world around us comes through our eyesight. Now, that was a massive, massive change that I had to adapt to, and a change that was never, ever going to happen overnight. And I remember it was a little over 2 months later, after waking up in hospital, that I was walking into school. It was an early July morning. And the school I went to was a primary school and secondary school combined. So you had to walk through the primary school, past the general office, down to the secondary school because I was in year 10. I went to school in the northeastern suburbs of Melbourne. And as I was walking in, it was foggy, it was cool, the sun was rising. And I want to let you guys in on a little secret, because over the next hour, I feel like we're going to get to know each other fairly well. And at 16 years old, like I said, I thought I was a little bit too cool for school. And some of the mums out there of teenage boys may be able to relate. My school shirt was too tight. My bag was down around my bum. I walked with my chest out and a little bit of a strut. Looking back now, absolutely terrible. But at the time, I thought it was just the way to go. And as I'm strutting into school, bang! I've run head first into a pole. I had blood streaming from my eyebrow, my lip, all over my beloved school uniform that I wore with so much pride. And then I found myself slumped to the bottom of the pole. And it was here, at the bottom of this pole, that it finally sunk in, that the denial finally left me, that I was blind for life. It was there at the bottom of that pole that then I started to think about the things that I loved. I was an outdoorsy, really sporty kind of kid. I loved camping, fishing, water skiing, basketball, footy, cricket, anything outdoors, you name it, I loved it. And it was there at the bottom of that pole that none of that was ever going to be possible again. The fact that I was blind was going to limit that forever. It was there at the bottom of that pole that I started to think about the car that I wanted to drive when I turned 18. I knew exactly what type of car I wanted to drive. And now because I was blind, that was never going to happen. And it was there at the bottom of that pole that it sunk in that I would never fulfill my dream to be a helicopter pilot. Probably a safe idea. But it was also there at the bottom of that pole that I started to think about the future as well. Things that a 16-year-old kid shouldn't even be thinking about. I then thought, I will never, ever see my bride walk down the aisle in her white dress. I'll never see my children's faces smile for the first time. Being blind, am I even able to be loved? Or am I just a burden? And it was there at the bottom of that pole that it felt like someone had just slammed a lid on the future of my life and limited its potential because I was blind. That changed my situation. Now put your hands up in here today if anyone in here has ever felt in any way that their situation or their set of circumstances has limited their life in some way. Now it may be your health situation that's limited your life, it may be financially, a financial situation, it may even be relationships, whether it's your family, your friends, your colleagues at work, your clients, whatever that may be. All these different situations and people that we interact with can somehow limit our lives. No one? Just me. Got a room of 700 people and no one has ever felt limited. Okay, so obviously I'm blind. Can't see it if you put your hands up, it's not going to work. So can we agree that if I ask a question, we get some audio feedback? Is that cool? All right, that's 4 people. Is that cool? Yes. Beautiful, thank you. Now, speaking of audio feedback, I want to speak about one of the funniest questions I get asked by audience members all the time. And I get it asked at nearly every event I speak at is, hey Ben, so what can you see? What sort of question is that for someone who can't see? But when I keep hearing it again and again and again, I actually go, okay, that's a fair enough question. Because I lost 98% of my eyesight overnight. Therefore, how much percent do I have left? 2. Exactly. So I thought what I'll do is I'll design a slide. I'll design a slide and I'll describe to this designer exactly what I can see, what my 2% vision looks like, and then I can show people, and that will give people an idea of what I can see. So I was chatting to this designer, and you can picture this in your heads as well as I go. And I said, okay, in the middle of my vision, I've got a big blind spot. Now you'd imagine that that blind spot would be either a big black hole or a big white hole. It's not. Does everybody remember the old analog televisions when you couldn't get the channel and it was black, white and grey, pixelated, fuzzy, moving around? Yeah? Now, instead of those dots being black, white and grey, imagine all those dots being every colour of the rainbow. So in my blind spot, that's what I see. It's like a big solid ball of fireworks, twisting, twirling, flickering, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether I've got my eyes open or closed. And then my peripheral vision around the edges is like looking through the thickest, foggiest day you can ever imagine, whether you can only see half a metre to a metre in front of you in black and white and shades of grey. So I was describing this to this designer, and she was so proud, she was so excited when she came back to me. And she said, oh, Ben, so I've designed the slide. Is this what you can see? And hopefully on the 2 screens to the far side, that's there. Yeah? Okay, good. I can't check, you see. I've got to rely on you guys a little bit here. So the best way to describe my life is like 50 Shades of Grey. With some added fireworks. Nah, it's not really like that. Now that's maybe very, very close to what I can see physically. However, a little while after losing my eyesight, I started to get this weird feeling. This weird feeling that I've only got 2% vision, but I feel as if I'm seeing clearer than I ever have before. How could this be so? And the reason I was starting to think this, because I kept having very, very similar interactions time and time again with different people in my life. Now, the first was with Mum. And we were sitting at home one day and Mum said to me, hey, Ben, some of the friends that you're hanging around with these days, they don't really look like your type of friends. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just thought that's just typical Mum being weird. I'm not going to read into that. Mum, get out of my room. Leave me alone. I'm a teenage boy. But the second time it happened, it was actually my best mate Stuart, and we were sitting around a campfire. And he said, oh, Benno, mate, just so you know, some of the mates that you've sort of brought into our group and some of the mates you've been hanging around with, they're not really our type of mates. They don't look like our type of mates. And Stuart's also a bit of a different thinker, but I was like, okay, that maybe it's a coincidence, but I thought about it a little bit more because it's now the second time I've heard it. Why do I have to have a certain type of mates that look a certain type of way? But subconsciously, it suddenly left me and I didn't think too much more about it. But then it happened a third time, a fourth time, and a fifth time. And all from people that had knew me before I lost my eyesight. And then I started to think more and more about it. It encapsulated me. And I realised then and there that although at age 16 I lost my eyesight, I had discovered something much more powerful. I had lost my vision at age 16, but I discovered true vision. And now what you see is not what you get. What you see is not what you get. And now it's okay, because it's our natural way of being as human beings to take things as we see through our eyes as the truth. It's the easiest way, it's the most natural way, it's the only way we've ever known. That old saying of face value. It actually happens naturally without us even being aware. We have preconceptions and preconceived ideas about people, about ourselves, about situations, and it just happens naturally. And then it occurred to me that people were seeing themselves, the people around them, and the situations that they live in every single day with this face value from the outside, relying on external factors to give them the truth. But that's not what true vision's all about. And I believe true vision has the power to create a healthier community. And now there's three very, very important parts to true vision. And the way that we can see with true vision is through the eye of true vision. And now there's three very important parts, three very important components of the human eye. Now the first, I believe, is the eyelid, keeps the dust out. You can put some mascara on the eyelashes, make it look good, whatever. Now the second is the iris, and the third is the pupil. And those three components make up the eye of true vision as well. But let's start with the pupil. And I'm going to treat you up here today to a bit of an experience. I don't know at school if you ever had a blind art teacher. It never ever goes well, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. So we're going to start by drawing our eye of true vision, and we'll start with the pupil. That'll do. And now the pupil represents you. It represents yourself, self. And the way in which we see with true vision is not from the outside in. You see from the inside out. And now I first realised this when I was looking at myself in the mirror one day, or trying to look at myself in the mirror one day after I'd lost my eyesight. And I'm more than happy to put my hand up and say that as a teenager, I was a little bit self-conscious about my appearance. And I was in the mirror, doing my hair, attempting to make myself look pretty. An impossible task, but I was trying. And as I was doing that, and I was trying to be critical of my appearance, and because I couldn't because of my loss of eyesight, I had this dawning moment that I thought, no longer am I looking at the outside of me. I'm now looking at myself on the inside. And I found myself looking in the mirror. Although I was seeing nothing, because you're looking in the mirror, you have that effect that you're seeing inside yourself. And I was asking myself the questions of, what are you proud of about who you are as a person on the inside, and not worrying about my appearance? And the pupil represents you. And you start with the pupil. And now in 2015, it's one of those stories that goes like from a friend of a friend, from a butcher's friends, cousins, daughters, cats, uncles. I was having lunch with one of these friend of a friends. And she was a little personal trainer, pocket rocket, fitness fanatic. And when I was having lunch with her, we were talking all things fitness. And then she said to me, "Oh, Ben, you should do a Spartan race. You'd be great at it." And I just said, "Yeah, sure, I'll do a Spartan race." Does anybody in here not know what a Spartan race is or doesn't know much about it? Yeah. I was in the exact same position as all of you. However, I just said yes. So I said, hang on, what's a Spartan race? But you've probably all met a little fitness fanatic, pocket rocket, personal trainer, and they're just full of energy. So I've already said yes, and she's excited. She's just said, "Ben, that's fantastic news. I'm so excited for you." So what a Spartan race is the hardest obstacle course race in the world, right? So you're going to have to run 14 kilometres. You're going to have to do that over mountains. You're going to have to swim through creeks. You're going to have to crawl under barbed wire. You're going to even have to haul yourself up ropes and jump fire. That's a Spartan race. Did I hear all of that right? Maybe 25 obstacles, 14 kilometres. Oh, but Ben, because you're blind, you're going to have to do it tethered. Can somebody yell out for me what tethered means? Tied to someone. Exactly. Because I was blind, I was going to have to do it with a rope tied around my waist and get pulled through the course. You laugh. That was not appealing to me, like a dog on a lead. However, this was the first time that I had to see myself with true vision. I had to see myself from the inside out, because this personal trainer, she wasn't. She was seeing me from the outside in and seeing the fact that I was blind before who I really was. She was seeing the fact that I was blind, which is a physical, external factor about me as a human that I cannot help. But seeing myself from the inside out, I could see that I had belief in myself, I was dedicated, I was fit, I was capable. Yes, I may have to do things differently because I can't see, but I believed it was possible. And when I said this to the personal trainer, she said, "Okay, Ben, I understand that and I support you in that. However, just so you know, there hasn't been a single legally blind person in the world that's ever competed in an obstacle course race untethered." Now, I was hoping she was going to tell me that there was like one crazy blind person somewhere that attempted it overseas. I don't care where, just tell me there was one. Give me some hope. Not one. But because I said yes, I wanted to commit to it and see it through. And I did that. But as I told more and more people, all the noise around me when I said, yeah, I'm going to do a Spartan race was, Ben, you're crazy. Ben, you're stupid. Ben, remember, you're blind. Gee, thanks. Thanks for reminding me. I forgot. Every single day. But that's when, again, I had to see myself with true vision, build up that belief. And it occurred to me then that unless you see yourself from the inside out first with true vision, no one else around you will see that. And now the next very, very important component of the eye of true vision is the iris. So let's go back to the art here, the masterpiece. It's just got one black dot at the moment. But let's draw the iris. And now the iris represents the people around us. It represents our proximity. And once you've seen yourself, the pupil, from the inside out, only then can you start seeing the people around you from the inside out. And now I believed in myself that I could do the Spartan race, but I also knew there was that little bit of common sense in me that knew that I couldn't just rock up on the day by myself, untethered, hear the siren go, and then just run off in any direction. Like, everyone would go that way and I'd go that way. It was never going to end well. I knew I had to surround myself with quality proximity, quality people around me. So I went to my best mate, Stuart, who was up the back of science class with me. And the reason I went to Stuart is because I knew the way he treated me and I knew the way that I treated him. Now, he's been through some tough challenges and adversity in his life, and so have I. But through it all, he's always been Stuart to me. And he's always just seen me as Ben and never put the fact that I was blind first. And I knew that in order to do this race, that's the sort of proximity I needed to surround myself with. People that saw me from the inside out and people that I could see from the inside out. And when I asked Stuart to do it, he said, yeah, I'll definitely do it with you, Ben. It's going to be super hard, and I probably wouldn't have done it just by choice, but seeing as you want to do it, I'm with you. And don't worry about the fact that other people are saying you're crazy, because I believe you can do it. If you believe it, I believe it too. They were his words. So now I'd established a really, really strong proximity, seeing it from the inside out. Now, can everybody remember the last component of the human eye and the eye of true vision? The eyelid. Awesome. So now the eyelid represents the situations that we find ourselves in every single day. So once you see yourself with true vision, then you can see the people around you with true vision. Then you can live with true vision in the way you see situations, whether that's at work, whether that's at home, in your personal lives, wherever that may be. That's the order in which you need to do it. And when it comes to the Spartan race, the situation was the race itself. We'd done the training and we got to race day. We were at the start line. And so many people ask me now, they say, "Oh, Ben, surely you got taken through the course beforehand and you could feel the obstacles so you knew what was coming up because you couldn't see." And I say, no, I didn't, because I was seeing myself with true vision. If I was seeing myself from the outside in, I would have focused on the fact that I was blind before who I was on the inside, and then I probably would have got taken through the course beforehand. But because I had that inside-out approach, I didn't. So when the siren went, honk, we all took off and we started running together. Stuart and I side by side. And we went through a few of the obstacles and we were getting a fair few Ks through. I thought we were nearly at the end. And eventually we got to this point where Stuart and I were starting to get tired. We were down on our haunches. Stuart, what have we gotten ourselves into? We must be nearly done. We're going really well. We were cramping. I'd cut some bruises. I'd rolled my ankle on the rough terrain. And then all of a sudden, one of these obstacle course racing professional athlete guys with his little Fitbit and heart rate monitors and his steps and his heart rate and his kilometres, he had everything. And he comes running past with not a bead of sweat on him and just claps at us, smiles and says, "You're going well, boys, going well. Only 4Ks in, 10 to go, keep going." Stuart, we mustn't have heard that right. But we did. And now if anyone else had have seen Stuart and I there on our haunches, pretty much looking like death, if they had have seen us from the outside in, externally, they would have said the blind guy and the blind guy's mate are not going to make it through another 20 obstacles and they're not going to make it the next 10 kilometres. However, because we were seeing ourselves with true vision individually and we were seeing each other, we turned to each other and we said, it's going to be hard, it's going to hurt, but we can do it. And we pushed through the pain. And we got further and further towards the end. And with only a few kilometres to go, we got to this obstacle. And get this right, this obstacle was a tyre hanging in a tree 20 metres away. And the obstacle was you had to throw a javelin through the tyre. It wasn't an obstacle designed for a blind person, let me tell you. And I said, okay, I'll see this situation with true vision. I'm going to give it a go. I'm not going to worry about the fact that I can't see. There's a way around it. Okay, Stuart, line me up. So he lined me up and he said, okay, first of all, Ben, don't aim at the crowd. Okay, I'll turn to the left, right a bit. Yeah, okay, go. Whoom. And I've watched this go sailing straight through the tyre. Everybody else around me said it landed 10 metres short. But I swear it went through. I still swear to this day. And the reason that Spartan Race is one of the hardest obstacle course races in the world is because most normal obstacle course races, if you don't complete an obstacle successfully, you either get multiple attempts or you move on and keep going through the course. Not Spartan Race. It has an individual punishment for every obstacle you don't complete successfully on your first attempt. And there's a little official Spartan guy at every single obstacle making sure you do your punishment. So there I am, going, oh, mate, please, I'm blind. That obstacle was not fair. You can't make me do it. And he said, hang on, I've heard about you. Aren't you the blind guy that wanted to do this untethered like everybody else? And now, at that point in time, I absolutely hated this guy. However, he was right. And looking back now, I'm so thankful and grateful. Because not only did he see me with true vision from the inside out and not judge me due to my situation, he forced me, when I was slipping back into seeing myself from the outside in, forced me to see from the inside out. And the best part about that obstacle was that Stuart didn't get it either. And we laughed at each other through the 30 burpee punishment before we moved on. And as we moved on, we eventually crossed the finish line in 3 hours and 32 minutes. And I became the only legally blind person in the world that's ever competed in an obstacle course race untethered. Thank you. And now the very, very awesome thing about that was the fact that I couldn't have done it without true vision. So now ask yourself the question, how are you seeing? Are you seeing yourself from the outside in, focusing on external factors? Are you seeing other people around you with external factors from the outside in? Are you seeing situations from the outside in, focusing on external factors? Now let me tell you, external factors can be limiting, can limit your life and your perception in so many ways, and your perception is a powerful thing. Now, does everybody remember those dreams that I thought were crushed and impossible at that poll? I was an outdoorsy person. I love sport. And yes, my 16-year-old dreams haven't all eventuated the way I thought they would. In actual fact, I've exceeded them. I now still water ski. This year in February, I became the only blind person to ever compete in the Southern 80, the fastest, most dangerous water skiing race in the world, held in Echuca. There was also that fact of, am I able to be loved? And now I live with my beautiful girlfriend Amy, my dog Ozzy, and we're creating a very, very bright and positive future for ourselves. And although I'm not a helicopter pilot, and I'm kind of glad that I'm not, for your sake and mine, I get to stand up here and I get to share with true vision with all of you. And it's one of the most rewarding and fulfilling careers I could have ever imagined. So I want to leave you with the questions of, how can you see yourself with true vision from the inside out? How can you see the people around you, whether it be family, friends, colleagues or clients, from the inside out? How can you approach and see situations that come up every single day, whether it be at work or at home, from the inside out instead of from the outside in? It's that age-old saying of don't judge a book by its cover. But how do we actually apply that? And I believe that seeing with true vision, focusing on the inside first, not saying the outside doesn't matter, still be aware of that, but focus on the inside first. And focusing on the inside can transform so many limits in our life into limitless possibilities. And that will create a healthier community, and you have the power to do so by seeing with true vision. What you see is not what you get. Thank you very much.